Welcome to the Industry Angel Podcast. We hear from the best business minds across the globe. Entrepreneurs, social influencers, marketing mavens, and sales rock stars. We've got them all. Here comes your weekly dose of inspiration with your host, Ian Farrar.
Welcome to episode 87 of the Industry Angel. What we have for you today is last week's live episode with the founder of the Kielder Observatory, which we recorded at Campus North in Newcastle in front of a fantastic crowd. But I didn't just want to push it out this week. I wanted to check in with you all. I'm on the road actually at the moment, so this bit of audio might not be the best. But I wanted to ask you how things are going. I'm really mindful that it's nearly May, so we set ourselves some projects, some businesses, some goals for 2018. And I'll be honest with you, mine are a bit behind schedule, and you're my accountability. So I'm putting my hands up here and letting you know I need to put some time down and bring these back on track. So let me know how yours are going. To be honest, this project is becoming a monster, but a great one. You know, the downloads are higher than I ever imagined. The live shows are going great. I love the support you guys are offering on social media. So I really want to check in and just say thanks and ask you to email me, host@industryangel.com. Tell me how your goals are going and what they are. I really want to know what you're up to. So, live episode time. Well, what a great time we had. Shout out goes to Lee for his amazing work streaming us live. If you head over to the Facebook page, you can rewatch, and the video quality is great. Lee's done a great job. And of course, all Team Angel have as well. So Lee, Paul, Gavin, Chris, Andy, we've all worked hard for this one. We created a video of us actually visiting the observatory up in Kielder, so you've got to check that out. It's really great. Let me know your thoughts actually on the live shows. Do you like them? Where would you like to see one? What type of content are you interested in? Remember, hopefully now you've subscribed to the show, and that'll ensure you don't miss any episodes. And of course, I want you to tell one friend this week and suggest they listen, okay? That's your mission, should you accept it. And remember, I read all your messages, okay? host@industryangel.com. I love to hear from you. Okay, so let's hear from today's guest, Gary Fildes. Actually, there's been quite a buzz for this one. It's been booked for maybe a couple of months now, and quite a lot of listeners from around the world have been sending us images and graphics via Twitter. Did you see us as Men in Black? And we've been astronauts.
I did see that, yes.
Yeah. So there's been a lot of interest in this one, and I know Paul's been like a kid in a sweet shop since he organised this one. So what we'll do is we'll have a chat, Gary. Okay, we'll learn a little bit about yourself. We'll take it to the floor for some Q&A with the guys. Before we'll do that, we'll do a minute quick fire round of a quiz, and we'll test your sci-fi knowledge.
Oh.
All right. Sorry to throw that one in there, but
we'll
have a bit of fun with it.
All right.
So when we walked up that kind of bank to the observatory, I was saying to the guys, it reminded me when I was running, because when I run, I think a lot. I think about projects, I think about blog articles. As soon as I get back, I'm rattling away. I think about business ideas, and I kind of envisaged you back in the days when you were on building sites, laying bricks, and thinking, did you have that vision then, or was it something that just grew organically?
For the observatory?
Yeah.
Nah, I mean, oh God, where do you want me to start? I was always interested in science as a kid, obviously. I mean, I loved it. I lived and breathed it, really. But it was a really weird experience. It was almost there was this thing I knew I really, really enjoyed. And I was interested in everything that meant something that I could take apart or understand or stuff like that. Not cats or anything like that, you know, just real things, right? And I just always had this love for astronomy. I just couldn't help looking up. And I've been asked this question a million times, and we've all got vocations in life, or most of us, often maybe wonder where that came from. And with astronomy, I've been the same. Now, I just don't know really. I mean, do you ever know? I just knew I always had that passion. So when I was working on building sites, invariably I'd be studying. There's earphones in, for example, listening to things and just chatting to the guys. I don't think they knew what to make of me really. I had loads of mates, and I sort of enjoyed it in a weird type of way. But I realised it just wasn't for me at all. But it was a great place to think. I don't know if is any bricklayers in the room. It's sort of quite. No, honestly, it's quite a therapeutic thing because you're just doing the same repetitive thing. And you put the conversation. It's not always great, but anyway, I met some really interesting people, and I found it very therapeutic at times laying bricks. So it gave me time to think. I mean, I was only in my early 30s. I was only quite young, I guess. So I'm old now.
I totally relate to that, and that's why I was talking about the running aspect of it, when I kind of switch off and that's all I can do is just be in my own zone with headphones on, and it is quite therapeutic. So, okay, you mentioned that was your 30s, yeah? So how did this start then?
Astronomy, for me?
Yeah, well, the whole journey, yeah.
Whoa.
We've got about 45 minutes,
so
all right?
we'll paraphrase, Nate. I've wrote him a book about how I think my earliest memories of astronomy, well, not of astronomy, but you know when you get like sort of pulled into something that you can't really explain. And with me, it was light. I was just really quite intrigued with light, and so much so that I remember my dad used to get a Christmas tree, and I would lie underneath it and look through the branches at all the different coloured fairy lights. It's a bit gay and all that, I know, but anyway, I used to do that, and I used to enjoy it, and I used to, tell the different colours, for example, and I guess it just took me somewhere else. And that's what happened. It did. It really just transported me off to somewhere else. And, as an adult looking back now, somebody who works in science and astronomy, I look back and I think maybe that was a sort of a incubatory moment in the brain where I had this sort of link. Because, of course, light it used to be the messenger of the universe until gravitational wave astronomy began, of course, but it still sort of is.
Steady on with all that, okay?
All right.
Because I have got the Dummy's Guide to, I think it was a Stephen Hawking book, that was like 20 years ago, so you'd have to beware.
Okay.
So, so that was your kind of first real love. Did you get a telescope after that, Ian, for Christmas?
No, but my brother did, and he didn't want to use it, but I did.
Okay.
And that was the first time I ever used a telescope. And I was 9. And I pointed it at the moon and found it and sort of somehow made it work eventually. And I was just, I was playing with it and I knew it did something, but I didn't quite understand what. But when I made it work, I realised quite quickly. I knew it needed to be doing more than what was happening. Okay. If you don't understand, I got little bits and put them together and looked at the picture on the box and understood how it all went together and found the moon with it. Now that was it, I was hooked.
So then, what did you do after that? Then did you join some clubs or societies or?
No, I mean, anybody from Sunderland? Respect. You look about the same age as me. So growing up in Sunderland in the 70s was great. I mean, I loved that. I didn't know anything else. It was fantastic. But if you were inclined to that type of stuff, I think for me it wasn't a hotbed for breeding scientists and sort of middle-class thinking, liberally orientated people, I guess. No, not really. So I remember, and I wrote about it in the book as well, actually, when it was shortly after, it was about 3 or 4 years after Gene Cernan with Apollo 17 left the moon in 1972. And I was telling I had 2 loves when I was a kid, football and science. Well, I couldn't play football at all. So, I'm from Sunderland. So what would happen was when all my mates were playing football in the street, I would offer to go and wait for Tognarelli's, the ice cream man, to come round. And I'd sit on the wall and I'd just stargaze. I really would. And, I remember this one night, and there was a big full moon out, and it was like an autumn night, and it was dead like frosty air. And when those cold air nights are just amazing. It's like frost on the ground. It was really brilliant. And I was just sitting there, just taking it all in. I just loved it. And these guys appeared from, I don't know, they were like maybe 12, 13-year-old. And I started telling them about the moon. Big fucking mistake. And they were like, they just thought I must have been from Mars or something. So next thing I knew, I was on the ground getting my head kicked in. And I thought, right, I'm going to keep this astronomy thing to myself. It's not a good idea. So I did, and I internalised it. And I think, I remember when I was 14, I cracked general relativity when I was 14, the concept.
Right.
I tried the field equations. I mean, I'm all right with maths, but I couldn't get that bit right. But I knew the concept of it. And around about that time when the physics teacher at school wanted to murder me, I think. He hated me because I was really quite confused, and I just wanted to tell the world about what I'd learned and tell the world about astronomy and tell them how amazing it is. My physics teacher didn't get that bit at all, really. So I just kept it to myself.
So how long did you have to keep it for yourself for then?
Forever.
Because you can't get to here now.
No, I just
so quickly. There must have been a journey.
Yeah, there was, of course, and I studied continually, in and out of study, and I just loved it, and I got, I led an interesting young life, let's just say, but you'll have to read the book.
Right. That's why you've been very coy about it. You're trying to get book sales, isn't it?
And anyway, it wasn't until I met this guy called David Sinden. David was the chief optical engineer for Grubb Parsons, the engineering company from Newcastle. It's not there anymore, right? And they were responsible for building some of the world's largest mirrors, astronomical mirrors, and even built the William Herschel telescope. That's part of the Isaac Newton group in La Palma, which is currently operational. And he's a really great guy. He's a local guy from Ryton. He's not here anymore, unfortunately. And he was operating the 24-inch telescope at Close House Observatory. And anyway, I met him, and he was just like, I just loved him. He was brilliant. He loved astronomy, and he knew his stuff, and he loved instruments and instrumentation, which I did by then. And we just were kindred little spirits and became mates. And he was about 50 years older than me. But he took me up to Kielder, and that was it. When I got up there and I saw the really dark skies, I'd been to dark sky sites before, but I'd never been anywhere like that. And I was hooked in the region then, and then I felt like it's probably okay to be an astronomer now, maybe, something like that. And I just decided probably when I was 32, 33, that now's my chance. I'm either going to be doing what I'm doing now for the rest of my life, unless I change it. So I did.
And how did you change it?
I changed everything.
Okay.
Ex-wife.
Everything?
Everything.
Everything.
I just changed a lot.
Okay.
Everything.
So you mentioned going to Kielder. Was that just with handheld equipment then, or were we just going to literally stargaze?
No, it was, I'd met these guys from, I was going up on my own at first, then I joined Sunderland Astronomical Society, whose acronym, of course, SAS, whose motto is, who stares wins.
Ah, nice.
And then I started to go to Kielder and Derwentide as well, with telescopes, just the back of cars. It was hilarious because you have these huge big telescopes sticking out the back of a car, and we'd just be going off the dark sky sites. And and then I started off at Kielder Forest Star Camp in 2000, and then it was first opened 2002, and then in 2008. Then after this Kielder Forest Star Camp, I turned my sights to building an observatory. And then I got to know a guy called Peter Sharp, who's the curator of the art and architecture in Kielder. And he said, I hear you're trying to build an observatory. I said, yes. He said, can we meet? I said, yes. And that was it, really. We met, and I was installed as the astronomical advisor on the project to build the Kielder Observatory. And the two of us just got together and collaborated and thought about what it would do, what it would look like. And when that happened, I think that first meeting, that was in 2003, 2004 maybe. 2003. That's when I knew this was my chance, I guess, in a weird way.
What did the star camps look like? Was it literally a camp of people were taking tents about?
Just hell. It was lots of tents in a muddy field, lots of telescopes, lots of middle-aged men, and lots of beer.
Yeah, excellent. Sounds all right.
Yeah, right.
But very cold, though.
Very cold.
Yeah, because we found that out last week. So what we were talking about last week was that is it better to stargaze in the winter or autumn months?
No, I mean, it all depends. I mean, I was going to tell, there's a guy who's a really good friend of mine from Durham University, and he's an instrument scientist called Jürgen Schmoll. It's apparent from the last bit you asked. I need to tell you this story. And Jürgen's the craziest, nerdiest scientist you'll ever meet in your life, and he's a colleague of mine, and I love him to bits. He's amazing. But he's a typical, well, no, right. He doesn't believe in buying clothes that cost more than £4. He doesn't believe in anything that's not denim and very tight. He wears his hair in a ponytail, got big rimmed glasses, looks like Robin Williams, and he's the funniest man in the universe as far as I'm concerned. But he's also a brilliant scientist. He's part of some amazing projects at the minute at the uni. Anyway, he bought a tent from Aldi for £4 at the first ever Kielder Forest Star Camp, which was clear and about -8 in the middle of the night. And we'd been up observing all night. It got like 4 a.m. And I'm walking past Jürgen's tent, and his feet are literally sticking out the bottom of the tent with no socks on them. The zip doesn't down to his ankles. And he couldn't get in his tent. I'm saying, Jürgen, he went, yeah. I went, mate, your feet are sticking out the bottom of the tent. He says, there's too many telescopes in the tent. His tent was completely full of instruments, and he couldn't fit himself in. This is mate, come in the tent, and then he came in the tent. That was a good. But sorry for digressing. What was the last question?
No, that's fine. I don't even know where I was going either. So thinking about that star camp and where we were going to go from there was to transition at the observatory. So was it like, how many years of the star camp going for? Did you say 8?
It started in 2002, so it's been on for 16 years now.
So, but initially when it was just a camp, when it was all you guys in the field with beer, are those guys still now with you?
Yeah. Well, I know them all still, and they're all still doing the same thing. I think, I mean, I still keep in touch with some of them. It's been interesting as far as that's concerned, because the amateur astronomy community is quite tight. And now I did something that never been done before, because I just went zip and I left that and went to do something else, and that's met with a few interesting comments, let's just say. But you just move on, don't you? And but nevertheless, they're still around. I still sort of keep in touch with the ones who matter. Let's just put it that way.
So let's talk a little bit about what's up there at the moment. So there's 2 telescopes, am I right?
No, we've got 6 instruments currently in the main observatory. Has anybody been, incidentally? Who hasn't been? That's the intro.
Well, we're sorting it out.
We've got 2 permanently mounted instruments in the main observatory, which are robotically controlled, so you need computers to operate them. But there's sort of, on each mount, there's 2 or 3 instruments on each one. Then we've built a new observatory, which has got 6 telescopes in it. Mm-hmm. That's all permanently mounted as well. Yeah, so lots of telescopes.
Yeah. So the new bit, what's that? What's that vision behind that then? Because I noticed there was a video that I saw on YouTube, and it was amazing. So I saw kids walking up, placing the eye in the telescope, and then this huge grin just appears on their face. Is that something that you wanted to do with the other part? Is that to get more families in, to get more children interested in the subject?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we always want to do that, but mainly what I realised maybe about 2 or 3 years ago was the big legacy of the observatory has to be education. It has to be. That's the thing. And I always say to people that it's wonderful to be part of the observatory and just see people just have such a great time. But it's more than that as well. We want to cater for as many people as possible. So the education side of what the organisation's now embarked on is really important to me, and it is to the rest of the organisation as well. So we needed to build an observatory that would be quite bespoke for that. It's, for example, the instruments, they're all remotely accessible, so you can access them from wherever you are in the world. Well, I can. And the data you get from them can be accessible as well. So it's just great for me to think that in the Northeast, kids, and it's just not just the Northeast as well, it's nationally, that they'll have access to somewhere like that where they can actually go to an observatory and understand what they've been taught in the classroom. Because quite often the pressures that teachers find them under, or the pressures teachers find themselves under, with exams and results and SATs and statistics and all the rest of it, is that they teach the plan, but they can't always devote as much time as maybe they would like to the concept. So the mathematics, for example, is really very important, but to understand the concept of an equation, for me, is the first thing you do. You've got to really get that, otherwise you won't be able to derive things from an equation, in my view. And I think the teachers, they know that as well, but they probably haven't got the time to do all that. So we wanted it in a small way, see if I could use my academic staff at the observatory with the instrumentations to help the national curriculum, and certainly up to Key Stage 3, with some of the work that they're doing currently. And then we've got the A-level courses and the GCSE courses where students will actually be able to use the instruments to do, because in some of the syllabuses you do sort of redshift measurements, this cosmological Doppler effect of light, and understanding it mathematically is one thing, but actually doing it, could you imagine what it would be like for a kid to actually do it and think, wow, that's what Hubble did in 1929, discovered the expansion of the universe. So it's so fundamentally important that kids get a chance to really get a hold of that, and especially girls in science. Mm-hmm. The uptake for girls in physics is horrendous. I mean, it's pretty much non-existent. We've got to change that. And we hope that the observatory will be a small part of contributing to that. So that's sort of the idea behind it all.
Excellent. I can see the passion straight away coming out of you there. So thinking about all of us here, thinking about those kids as well who visit, what can they see?
What do you want to see?
Exactly, yeah. Tell us some good things. I can see Paul smiling behind us, getting very excited at this point, because I know he's been... I always say to people, with distance, our knowledge fades a little bit. We know quite a lot about the universe. There's a professor at Durham University who constantly says to me, Gary, the universe is very simple to understand. In every sense it is. It really is. But he says it's people and cats that are difficult to understand. And I think it's absolutely true. And it reminds me of one of the most fundamental things that Albert Einstein said, which was the most incomprehensible thing about the universe is that it is comprehensible. And based on that, you can really start to understand it. But unfortunately, when we look at huge cosmological distances, we see the universe on very, very large scales. So understanding what's going on in a cosmologically distant galaxy, for example, that will appear as no more than a brightening of your CCD chip. To understand actually what's going on inside of that, we're not there. We don't understand what the dark matter particle is, if indeed it is a particle, which it probably is, and even less so the euphemistically known dark energy, or the vacuum energy of the universe. So there's parts we don't understand. But anyway, answering your question, you can see the moon, you can see Saturn, you can see galaxies, stars, star clusters, nebulae, you name it, we'll show you it. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And if it is the very, very distant universe you're interested in, then we do have large aperture instruments that help you see it through the eyepiece. But one of the things that we're doing with the new observatory, which I think is great, is, I don't know if there's one or two people been to the observatory, and it's I don't know what you think about looking through an eyepiece, but it's a very personal experience. And that might sound silly, but it really, really is, in as much as I can't see what you see, only you see what you see through an eyepiece. So I'm standing next to someone, invariably telling them how to focus the instrument, and almost telling them what they should see. And it takes away the interpretation artistically of the person who's observing it. Because the science is one thing, but just seeing it and really getting to grips with how you understand what it is you see, I think is really important. So at the observatory, we've got nothing but eyepieces. So people can look through telescopes, see stuff, which is great. What the new observatory is going to do is we've got this huge, big 65-inch QLED TV screen. It's flippin' ace, you should see, it's amazing. Black point on it is phenomenal. So we'll be taking live images from the telescopes and putting them through a short processing pipeline, and then they'll appear on the screen. So everybody sees it at the same time. That allows the scientists and astronomers at the observatory to point out the morphology of these objects so they better understand them, and then you can go and look at it through the eyepiece. That's sort of the idea. It sounds amazing.
Yeah. But it'll be cloudy anyway.
Yeah, it was cloudy when we were there, and I won't ask what I said to the guys. I thought you might be able to get some telescope that went past the clouds.
Well, you can, but it'd be very long.
See, I told you. So, how do you pay for all that stuff then? So we've got this new observatory, we've got all this cool technology going in there. How are we going to fund this?
I haven't thought of that bit yet. It was very much an organic growth, I guess. The answer is a little bit of a trick. We'll pay for it because the observatory is sustainable. In as much as somebody comes along, buys a ticket, comes for the night, and that little bit of money goes into the charity to keep it all going. But that was always the plan, because it's always been a registered charity. But getting the organisation self-sustainable to the point where it went from one volunteer working at the observatory, which was me, to now having 11 full-time members of staff has been quite a journey. And paradoxically as well, it's taken me more and more away from science, which I hate, which I'm sort of getting myself back into it now. Yeah. But so it's self-sustainable. People come through the door and pay for it. When we build observatories, we have to go and raise money for that.
Yeah. What I picked up was there sometimes when you become more involved in a business, you become an HR manager, you do a lot of operational stuff, and it takes you away from your passion. But then we discussed earlier on that your passion, didn't you do a Newcastle Film Festival lately where it was did you go to Chile? So that must have been amazing and really fulfilled your passion. So do you want to tell us a little bit about that journey?
We went, I got invited to the big observatories in the Atacama Desert in Chile to go and have a tour and all that. So I went down, we took the camera crew, wanted to film a little documentary. It was around about this, it was in 2013, so it was at the time when we were thinking in Northumberland about trying to apply for the International Dark Sky Park status. So I wanted to go to Chile and see what dark skies meant down there, and what it felt like to be under quite literally the world's darkest skies, and also to be at astronomical observatories underneath the world's darkest sky. So at these cutting-edge facilities, to be there under these amazing skies, it's mouth-watering. So I went down there, they shot the documentary, the three of us, funded it ourselves, and 5 years later, it eventually got finished. And we showed it at the Newcastle International Film Festival, which is great, and it looks like the BBC are going to show it, so it's even better.
Excellent stuff.
Yeah, so
brilliant.
Amazing. Really
so
pleased about
how many people saw it at the film festival? Was it a big crowd? Or
just three of us. It's just the three that went actually.
What a screening.
There's 45,000 people there.
Right.
No, there wasn't. There was about 90 people, I think. At the Miners Institute in town. It was good. It's a good night.
Brilliant stuff.
Yeah.
So, obviously, the Chile thing was amazing. Is there anywhere else that you visit to do that dark skies bit? Where else could you go?
I've been really fortunate. Actually, I've went all over the place. I mean, mainly in South America. The only big one I've not been to yet is the Keck in Hawaii. But that's on the radar. I don't know if anybody's ever been to any of these big observatories, but they're just absolutely amazing. I remember when I went to Paranal on the first night. Anybody heard of the Paranal Observatory, the VLT? Nobody? Do Google there. One guy's nodding his head. It's just like astropon, quite literally. Yeah. It's just a phenomenal place.
Is that a thing?
And it's not a thing. I didn't say that, did I?
You did, yeah.
I did, okay. Anyway. And yeah, we went at the Paranal Observatory, it's 7,000 feet above sea level. So you're just above the inversion layer, so you're not really getting clouds like what we've got tonight forming. So you're above on top of the clouds, so you see the sun set into the clouds, which was mental. But which is even more mental was all the science team come outside on the observation deck at twilight to watch the sunset. I mean, could you imagine working in Asda and that happening? And that felt really special to me. Then what dawned on me was all these people in this facility's there for one reason and one reason only. It's not there to provide a final salary pension for someone or to make somebody phenomenally rich or to charge us all a king's ransom to go and visit. It's there so that humanity can better understand our place in the universe. I mean, what better pursuit is there than that? I mean, that was like a spine-tingling moment for me just to realise that. And it was one of the first times I'd really only been in that type of environment. Because working on building sites, you're just surrounded by mercenaries, and it's just like, it's really hard and it's graft, and you're out there and everybody's just standing there with rab jackets on and they've got the cameras and just watching the sunset, and I'm just thinking, I'm at home. This is great. It was just amazing. It's a fantastic place to visit, definitely. You can actually visit Paranal. You
mentioned dark sky status in Chile. So how do you achieve dark sky status? Because Kielder has that, yeah?
Northumberland does, yeah. It's actually the Northumberland International Dark Sky Park's the largest expanse of protected dark skies in the world, in Europe. It's the third largest expanse of protected dark skies in the world, which we're really proud of. To get the award, it's quite an onerous process, actually. It's governed by overseen by an organisation known as the International Dark Skies Association. And you have to do a lighting management plan, so you have to look at all the lights in the region, and you need to monitor them and do reports, and you have to measure the darkness of the night, the nighttime sky, and you have to do all sorts of stuff like that. And then you got to put your bit together, and then they come out and they check you out and all that. And we in 2013 we got it in December 2013, and we've got the highest possible grading that you can get for a dark sky as well, which is amazing, isn't it?
So does that impact the observatory then? So people now know it's dark sky, and then you get people flocking to do that?
Well, it means we can actually preserve the dark skies. I mean, look, there's not that much you can do. If somebody wants to go and build a house and put external lighting on, yeah, we'd knock at the door and have something to say about that. But there's no law underpins the IDA award. You can't. Part of the lighting management plan is an aspiration of it is for it to be adopted and to become planning law, and then you can do something with it. But there's nobody lives in Kielder really. It's a pretty deserted area, so it's always been dark, and it probably always will. So we haven't got that much of a fight in our hands, we don't think. But it is still nice that we've got a dark sky park. Even that word just sounds amazing, doesn't it?
So I'm going to ask you how often you visit Kielder, because you said you could watch through the instruments from a distance. So you're at home in your dressing gown watching through Kielder. How often do you go there?
That sounds a bit weird.
You're the one that said astroport, not me.
Can I have like jeans and trainers on and a sweatshirt or something?
I nearly said in your kegs, but people mightn't get that. So
yeah, I mean, you can do that, and I don't often because the guys are normally always using everything.
Right, okay.
So for operational, I mean, the observatory's open every night. See, we're only closed 4 nights of the year.
Mm-hmm. So how often do you go then?
Me, I'll go up maybe 2 or 3 times a week, I guess, something like that. Just depends. But I do go up. I'll stay up quite literally all night.
Right.
Especially if it's clear.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So what's next for the observatory then? So we've seen that new building. We'll probably see it in the video there. Anything else after that? Have you got?
Yeah. We have more plans. We're going to build a small planetarium, just a mini planetarium, get maybe 25 people in it. And it's just something else to use as a differentiation of the offer for the cloudier nights. I mean, even on a cloudy night, it's still an interesting visit. And, we wanted to provide, because what we didn't want to do is people to come visit and say they enjoyed it, but then come again a year or two's time and think, I enjoyed it again, but it's just the same. So we want to be continually changing things and making things different. And interestingly, with the new planetarium that will be built in finished in maybe 9 months, 10 months time, and with the new observatory, we're not actually getting any more bums on seats. We're not saying that the capacities went from 38 to 58. As some sort, that's not what's happening. The new observatory will literally be a differentiation of the offer. In fact, what we're doing is we're stretching out the amount of time you're with us for, so you can actually use all this kit.
And it's the 10-year anniversary coming up shortly?
Yeah, 25th of April.
25th of April. So is anything happening around that?
Yes. We're going to the Valley in Corbridge for a curry and a few beers. And we've got, on the next day, the 26th, is when the new observatory's opened. So it's a grand opening. So it's 10 years and 1 day after we open the main observatory. So we've got a press day for that. Then on the Friday night, I'm doing an event, and then it's business as usual on the Saturday. And just on we'll go.
I want to get you on this quiz because I'm going to have some fun with you. Is there anything else you want to share before we do that? He's panicking now, isn't he? Is there anything else you want to share with us before we do that? We're going to take it to Q&A as well.
No, I mean...
No?
No, not
yeah?
really.
So what we need is our friend behind to do... You can get your horn out as well if you want. Yeah. Steady on. If you give us 60 seconds, Paul, on your watch... Oh, is the beep the start and the beep the horn to finish? All right, okay. Sounds good. Are you ready for this?
I think so.
Right, okay then. In which century does Star Trek take place?
20th.
What character does Craig Charles play in Red Dwarf?
Can't remember.
Who is the author of the Discworld series of sci-fi novels?
The what one?
Discworld.
No idea.
What is my favourite comet?
Haley?
No. Who was the voice of Darth Vader?
No idea.
Which eye do you look through a telescope with?
Right.
What is the 7th planet from the Sun?
7th is Neptune.
It's Uranus. Isn't it?
Uranus, yes.
Thanks
Sorry,
very much.
Uranus.
Who was the 4th Doctor Who?
Pass.
What was different about the character Ash in Alien?
Is it a robot?
Do you wear long johns in winter at the observatory?
Oh, yeah.
What were people searching for in Waterworld?
Land?
Who captained Stingray?
I've no idea.
What pop star played... Oh, there you go.
See, This is an insight into my brain. You see, I often get ridiculed because I've never read a fiction book in my life, and I don't watch television. I just read science books. It's pretty sad, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Must be some science questions.
Well, I did. The comet, and you got it wrong. It was Hail Bop.
Oh, was it?
Right. Thanks very much for that.
Tell you when it came.
I think you got about 2.
Oh well. Do I get a prize?
No. Actually, that's a good reminder there. Let's do a raffle there. Talk about prizes. Yeah. So, Gary has kindly brought along
just over there behind
3 of his books, which you'll sign, Gary, yeah?
I will, yes.
For some lucky winner. So all you guys who've registered with Eventbrite and not just rocked up on the sly, you will get to go in the raffle. Which, Gary, do you want to draw this?
Yeah, can
Yeah, go on then, you can pick 3. Okay. I think there's 30 Paul Slaters written in there.
2 and 3.
Go on, you read one out, Gary.
Okay. So, Helen Lee.
You can't pronounce it, can you?
Helen Lee.
Helen Lee?
Yeah.
All right, okay. Well done, Helen. Sophie Dishman?
Maybe.
Sophie here? Oh, gonna have to pick another one.
And Paul Lancaster.
Boo. What was all that about? Poor guy. Liam Alexander? Is Liam here? Liam Alexander? I'm going to have to pick another one. Okay. Is he here?
No, he's there.
Good man. Right, okay, there you go. Well done. So let's take some questions from the floor. What I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to repeat them into the mic so the listeners at home can hear, okay? So keep it nice and short, not too techie, all right? Not crazy astronomy stuff. Right, okay, who's going to go first? Yes, sir.
Is there any natural phenomenon that you really still want to see that you haven't seen yet? You know, those ones that only occur every sort of few 50 years or so.
So is there any natural phenomenon, did I say that right? Yes, that you haven't seen yet that you want to?
Yes, Sunderland wins something. That would be nice. I think, yeah, I mean, quite a lot. I think things like supernovae, for example, Betelgeuse, the Coxey's favourite star, Betelgeuse in Orion, that's going to end its life as a Type 2 supernovae. The Type 1As are more common, I guess. They're the interesting ones, the Type 1A supernovae, the interesting ones, so I guess that would be great to see something like that.
Excellent. Any more questions for Gary? Yes, at the side here.
What kind of data do you or are you capable of generating, and do you make it open to anybody to sort of use as a dish?
So what kind of data are you generating, and is it public, is it open source, can we get a hold of it?
Yeah, we are generating data, but you can't get it yet, but it is going to become available. We're currently doing exoplanet research, so photometrically analysing stars dimming as a function of time to try to establish whether something's transiting it. We're also doing, or will be doing, radial velocity measurements. So essentially, you have 2 gravitational bodies orbiting one another. They'll pull at each other. So even the Earth moving around the Sun actually makes the Sun wobble a bit. So So if you're photometrically looking for a star dimming, it's got to be in your line of sight. So that if the star's here and you're there, the planet's got to do that. But if it's doing that, you can't get that thing. But if it does that, the star will wobble. So we're going to detect that with very bright stars. There's more interesting things. We're doing nova searches, and we're doing galaxy mapping as well. We'll probably have, I don't know, you're going to have to give us a little while for that because it's about resources, I guess. Probably 2019, mid to late 2019, something like that. But if you specifically wanted something, we could maybe, yeah, I mean, we can get you raw stuff, like dots on a graph and metrics and stuff and pictures with bright spots on them, and get you that. Just drop me an email, we'll be able to do something probably.
Any more questions for Gary? Yes, Carl.
Will we walk on Mars? So, will we walk on Mars, and if so, what's the benefit?
Will we walk on Mars, and what's the benefit? There's a Mars bar in front of you actually called... I don't know if you noticed this, Gary. Have we got any space raiders anyway? I requested space raiders. Okay. We've got Milky Ways and Mars. Sorry, yes, will we walk on Mars?
So, as you can tell by the quiz we've just had, the solar system's not my strong point. However, I can ask cosmology is my field of study, see, so the Big Bang, dark matter, dark energy and all that. That's where I'm comfortable. So anyway, do I think... Yeah, I mean, I do think it will happen, absolutely. We just got to get rid of that idiot Donald Trump, I guess, and all the rest of them. I think you know, people like Elon Musk, for example, who's just an absolute flipping legend, I think he'll pull something off, definitely, and leave them all in his wake. And I can't wait to see it. And I absolutely do think somebody will walk on Mars one day. But wow, the benefits are massive. I mean, where do you want to start? They're huge. If I often say to people, I was lucky enough to go off to California in 2014 and interview all the guys who walked on the moon. And as a kid of the 70s, who was born in the 60s, that's huge. And I was like, wow, it was amazing. And I remember talking to Gene Cernan, who's my hero essentially. Everybody remember Gene Cernan? No, he's the last man to walk on the moon anyway. See what I mean? It's like it's
we expect you to say Gary Rowell or something.
No, but the thing is, I think if when in the future humans look back to the 20th century, that will be one of the standout memories of human endeavour in the entire 20th century was that we walked on the moon. We left the surface of our home world and went somewhere else. And I think that will be remembered forever. The next leap, of course, is getting out to somewhere like Mars, absolutely. And now the technological advances that were born out of the lunar missions with NASA were huge. So, and where science is now currently, then the advances technologically that we could encounter due to walking on the moon and the challenges we'll face to get there will be equally as massive, I feel. So I think, we're explorers at heart, and I think we'll have to do it. It's essential. And then the most important part of all that, for me, it's the inspirational message it will send out to the younger generation. Can you imagine how kids will feel seeing somebody walk on Mars? Can you imagine the furore around the media and the press about how we're going to get there? Are they there yet? Are they going to land? Are they still alive? So because it's like a 20-minute lag on the signal to start off. So all these things will be building such an amazingly influential and inspirational story. So I think we must go. We should have been there long ago.
Okay, yes, Roy?
Thanks, Gary. You've been looking through telescopes for a lot of years. When you look through telescopes today, is there still some feature of the sky that you constantly go back to because it's so fascinating?
Is there a feature in the sky that you return to and keep wanting to look at? Yes,
there is. And there's especially this time of year, underneath the back of the constellation of Leo is the constellation of Coma Berenices. And when you look in that part of the sky, you look towards our local group of galaxies. So Milky Way is part of a loosely bound group of galaxies, maybe about 30 members in it. And when you look into that field, you look through the local group of galaxies out a little bit further as well. And I think the most I've ever counted in one field of view of an eyepiece is something like 28 galaxies in one field of view. It was just amazing. So for me, that's my best part of the sky. And I go back there constantly just to... Yeah, it's amazing, man. And the best bit's when you put a detector on the back of the telescope and then start doing some stuff with it all. It's interestingly as well, that cluster, the local group, and that observation is what Fritz Zwicky made in the 30s, where he got this term dark matter from, because the galaxies were moving faster than what they should have been. So he inferred this missing mass, because it has to be gravitational influence that causes stuff to move, and dark matter, of course, the only influence it has on the universe is gravitational. That is it. So this is where, it's that observation essentially what gives us the idea about dark matter.
Any further questions for Gary? Yes, at the back here.
Just for somebody like yourself, of realising that what you're doing at the moment isn't what you want to do forever, what's the best advice you could give to them?
Okay, Gary, I'll just repeat that question. So for somebody who was maybe inspired by listening to this journey and they might want to do what they're doing now, they want to do something else, what advice do you have?
I think you know, you've just got to. I know it's a cliche, and I know you'll have heard it a million times, but just don't give in, I guess. And that's the best advice I'd give. Don't pat it in. Don't give it in. You know, and the people who maybe you look up to today were like you one time. You know, and it's that idea to cling on to, is that somebody's got to be doing the interesting jobs of tomorrow that you want to be doing today, I guess. And I guess it's understanding that as a young guy like yourself, and just think, well, you know, you can do it, and you've just got to stick at it, I guess, and just be bloody minded as well as not to give in and take the knocks. And if you enjoy it enough and you love it enough and you're driven enough, you'll stay at it and you'll keep at it. But also, I think the biggest tip I would give anybody is you must be committed to change. I think I'm not the guy I was 10, 15 years ago at all, and if I was, I wouldn't be sat here now. And I live my life as a person, human being. I am committed to change, and I think that's the most important feature, I think. Virtue, maybe not a virtue, but yeah, just to think that, you know, you can change as well. So, yeah.
Any more questions?
If you had relatively unlimited funds, what would you do at Kielder? Not under billions, but if somebody came to you and says, well, like, what kind of thing would you want to do if you had semi?
I think...
If you had billions, Gary, what would you do with the money?
At Kielder. Do you remember that yacht I was telling you about?
Yeah, the Hawaii one, yeah.
I think I would just continue to do what I'm doing now, really, and just make it more interesting. I think build a bigger planetarium, have STEM labs so kids can come up and take part in some real astronomy. And one of the dreams I would love to have is just to have like a proper science school. You know, for me, education is about furthering knowledge, not ignorance. You could argue that education is about furthering ignorance always, of course it is, but really, you know, you want to know what is. You know, and I'm every bit a scientist, I guess, because I just live and breathe it, because I don't believe in religion, I don't believe in crazy stuff like that. I think it's absolutely off the scale craziness. I believe there's an explanation for absolutely everything. We might not know it yet, but that doesn't mean to say there ain't an explanation, but it just means we haven't found out what it is yet. And so that's the way my brain works. So I'd love to build a science school. It'd be amazing, wouldn't it? Something like that. That'd give kids a choice to understand how it all works. Something like that, but big telescopes and maybe even a spaceship.
Got a question at the back as well?
Yeah. I don't know a lot about the guidance of the telescopes. Do you have to use specific equipment to view certain things in the sky? Because I work in microscopy, so obviously we use different dichroics and laser lines and all that sort of stuff, and different microscopes for different things. And there is like a crossover between the two. I don't know a lot about telescopes in general. Do you have to be quite specific as to which machine and which filters? Do they have filters? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That you use to actually view things?
Yeah, I mean.
So do you have to use specific equipment? To look at stuff, do you have particular equipment?
Yeah, I mean, you know, this is the interesting thing, is that all a telescope does essentially is gather light. That's it. That's all it does. Well, it can be anything. You can configure it to do whatever you want. You just have to have different apertures and different focal lengths, and you can play the light path as well. So it just depends what the application would be. So for spectroscopy, for example, if you just needed the light book and you're just staring at a star for, I don't know, an hour or something, then you can just let it run. But if you're doing, if you're doing wavelength specific stuff, then using a filter set, definitely. So would primarily use UV, VI, and R. That would be our filter set that we would use. That's all you'd really need. Infrared astronomy from the surface of the Earth is a little bit tricky for obvious reasons. So we probably wouldn't be doing stuff like that. So optically, you'd configure the instrument to do whatever application it would need to do. Absolutely, because we can put a DSLR camera, put one of these cameras on the back of a £15,000 telescope, and it turns into a telephoto lens. It looks ridiculous when there's one stuck on the back, but nevertheless, it'll get the focus on the. I mean, the imaging circle's quite big for cameras like this, so you don't get all the light. So you get a lot of vignetting and stuff, but essentially you can.
How do the instruments gather light? Because obviously in my case we sort of like hit them with lasers and gather what comes back.
Mirrors. Just mirrors, yeah. Just use parabolic mirrors. It depends which optical system we use. We've got catadioptrics, which are, they're a mixture between glass lenses and curved mirrors. We have a Ritchie-Chrétien optical system, which produces very flat fields. So as you well know, it's very difficult getting all the wavelengths of light to focus. So you need to shape your mirror correctly so you get all your light focused. I mean, some of the cheapy telescopes, for example, you get blue fringing around bright objects because short wavelength light's harder to get to focus than longer wavelength light. We'd manipulate it all to make it all work. Sorry about this, folks. You just shall we go for a drink after or something?
Really beats my stingray questions, doesn't it? Okay, so my mind's blown. How about we call it a day, and we thank Campus North for having us again. Thank Team Angel for all the hard work. Lee's been an absolute blinder tonight trying to get all this worked, and the guys and all the video production, so well done, thanks for that. And well done to Gary Fildes.
Thank you. Cool, I need to sign books then, don't I?
Yes, please.